So my headphone mic is just like randomly over here in the corner. What's up, everybody? Uh, man, last week was super busy. This week is kind of busy up until like the holiday, of course. But yeah, so before stream started, Sid Miller was busy getting married. Congratulations. Let me know that at the ANGFA Super Auction last week, which is in Australia, there were Pasco River mops of eggs. So somebody's got them. That's kind of awesome. I would love to be able to eventually get those. The problem is getting stuff out of Australia to the United States, as far as fish are concerned, is a bear. Um, it takes special licenses and. That being said, it's possible. So who knows? But Sid, congratulations. And at least I know somebody's keeping them. So now there is kind of like a path to success, so to speak. What can we do? What can we talk about as kind of some precursors, and then we can go into our free-form chat. I don't have a topic this week. Frankly, I've been really busy with work. We're trying to get this release out for a pre-alpha, you'd probably call it, to kind of this inner circle of people that are the partners and stuff with our company. And needless to say, there's been a lot of like testing and bugs and fixing those bugs and just trying to get the polish and stuff we want for what we would consider ready enough to go into that state. And it's kept me kind of busy. Plus, of course, all the usuals around the house and getting ready for the upcoming American Thanksgiving, because I'm going to do a day trip to go see some family across the state, and then trying to do plans here at the house and balance everything with my wife and brother-in-law James, make sure the doggos are okay. Shani's right over there. She would not let me pick her up. I was going to try and start the stream with her, but no. She was like, nope, not having it, Dad. Ain't happening. I'm just going to sit on the bed, and you're going to call it a day. But she's doing super good. Aren't you? Yeah, you. Yeah, you. Yeah, she's doing really good. What else can we talk about? I did not go to my club's big plant auction because I had plans. And then I spent a good amount of time yesterday talking to Luke, who's in chat. We were kind of babbling about random fish stuff and a little bit about the potential Findig for next year. Because I think they're trying to figure out like venues and stuff like that, and that's never fun. Like on the West Coast, I think one of the biggest problems, at least for Seattle and a lot of the California Bay Area stuff like that, is that venues for events are just super expensive. And because they're so expensive, it can often make clubs trying to run events like a little gun shy, because it's like, well, you know, we were looking for a venue that only cost us $2,000, and the venue is going to cost us $7,000 or something like that, right? And I know that like my club has dealt with that for some of our auctions, where we kind of have a strict, I'll put this in quotation marks, strict budget as far as like what we're going to spend on a venue. And that has severely limited our options for venues, which means usually there's some problem, like either parking sucks or the venue's not as big as we'd like, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's usually some caveat that makes it kind of a pain in the butt compared to if we were to just, have slightly more budget. So yeah, I totally understand that. And he was kind of asking me some questions and bouncing some ideas just off of me, because we talk enough. And we're both, plant psychos. I would argue Luke is in a phase like I was um, right before COVID, where I was trying every rare plant I could get my hands on and going like hog wild on stuff. I've kind of dialed back now because I've just been working so much. But guy's good at what he does, is what I'm trying to say. If he's willing to like gamble on all sorts of crazy plants, he knows what he's doing. And also, you're what, vice president for your club, right? For the Sacramento club, like kind of just generically turbo fish nerd. Oh man. Legion Aquatics, the Fallen Forest tank has been looking really nice in the background. Thank you. Of recent videos, can you do an update soon? Yeah. I do want to do probably like the start in January. Maybe tail end of, I might have to start filming it tail end of December, but I kind of want to do an updated like fish room tour after I've got a few things going in the fish room that I'm currently in process working on that you don't necessarily see because they're like outside of the window of camera I'm showing you. But yeah, yes. Although you've probably seen some stuff, right? Like you've seen a new tank show up and it's still like wrapped up in its cardboard, but it won't be for very long. That's actually like the project. I don't think it's this weekend. That's a different project, but very soon, one of these weekends, it's going to be that tank getting set up and going, where we will put in, I'll stop trying to hide like it's not obvious. That's where the undergravel filter plates that I have are going. And you can make a guess at what's going to go in there if I'm going to do undergravel filtration in a 40-gallon breeder. You can probably make some assertions as to the type of filtration I'm going to do some test work on. It's a type of filtration that I've requested data on and been met with a certain amount of, shall we say, malice? It's apparently asking for data is very offensive. By the way, total. If you have a Costco and they have these little sparkling ices, they have like a holiday pack that has a like apple cider, some kind of like winter punch that's got pomegranate in it, and then this like cranberry one. Very delicious. Got some of these a couple weeks ago, and then like in my most recent trip to Costco, we got a couple extra packs of them just because they taste super good. And they're 0 calorie too, no sugars. So, right, nice little alternative to my normal crutch, which would be I love soda. But yeah, little light carbonation, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm off the rails, as should be obvious. Uh-oh. Aquarium Domain. Jeremy, buddy, what's up? The discounted hotel rooms for the 2024 Clash are released. Just saying, nudge, nudge. I might think about it. My biggest problem, like, honestly, traveling, I have to pick kind of one place I'm going to go that requires a flight. And it's just because as a big guy, right, I just don't fit comfortably in economy for any flight longer than like 30, 40 minutes. Just because inherently I'm a big dude. So like I end up having to fly first class to be comfortable, and that drastically inflates the cost of the flight. So that dude pretty picky. And I like the Clash a lot. It was really fun. But I kind of am thinking about like doing a different event that I haven't done before. But I've also got people that are like trying to get me to go to certain places, like Paul Soltero wants me to go to AAGA because that's out in his neck of the woods and stuff like that. I might try to go to like Aquashella this year. I haven't really decided. I'm trying to figure it out. I'll probably know before I get too far into December. But I respect it. I will say that, like, after my experience at the Clash, I really liked the Clash. It was really fun because it's the right mix of still a small show, big quotation marks around that, where you can like just chill and talk with people, whether it's vendors or some of the other creators there, some of the folks like Geek Boy was there. Got to talk to Geek Boy. Got to talk to like TJ Autocross and all sorts of other folks that were there. Of course, like Paul Sotero and I talked a bunch. There were folks like Dan from Dan's Fish I got to sit down and talk with. Kelly Foreman, all the they more than I can count easily, right? Like just an army of people who were there. But the problem is like because the show is small, big quotation marks, there's enough time to sit and talk in groups, and we get to have fun and relax. And then every once in a while, somebody's like, "Did you see X or did you do this or that?" And then a like small group just goes, "Nope," motors off and goes to check that thing out or do that thing, and it's or like hey, this person's about to start giving their talk. Let's all go over there because we all wanted to see it. That kind of stuff. So it's kind of sweet in that it's not so crazy like the scale that Aquashella is, to where you feel like you can't just like hang out and talk with people, which is my favorite part of conventions. That's the part I think that as long as Clash keeps growing but can keep that feeling, Keystone Clash is going to be, I think, one of the events that people need to go to. Legion Aquatics. I'm 6'3", and when I sit on a plane or in a small car for more than an hour, my legs start to kill. Yeah, dude, I understand that. Like, I'm not crazy tall. I'm just shy of 6 foot, but there are several places where like I feel like my knees have to be in my chest in order to like sit in certain spaces. And yeah, for me, it's mostly like my hips just inherently get beat to heck. And it's not that comfy, especially when you're for hours on end. But yeah, I'll ponder it. Legion Aquatics, do you leave mulm in your tanks? Yes. I recently noticed when I leave mulm in my filters and gravel, my plants, fish seem to do better, especially the fry do much better. Yeah, so part of that is this. Mulm becomes inert eventually, right? And it doesn't take that long from when fish waste kind of gets broken down further and turns into like that more silty mulm that we're used to. And the bacterial processes convert all of the scary waste, your ammonias and nitrites, into nitrate and eventually make that inert. But what happens is all of that mulm becomes this fantastic breeding ground for all those beneficial bacterias, right? Because it's a constant food source, and as it gets down there, it encourages, because it's food being available for those beneficial bacterias, it helps create all this like microfauna, right? All these little tiny organism creatures like your biofilms and things like that are great food sources that fish can inherently feed on that we just can't see, right? Our measly human eyeballs, especially defective ones like mine that require glasses, we can't see that stuff. But fish know it's there, and they can graze on it and use it. And it's a lot of what you see in nature is a significant amount of detritus is actually in the gut cultures of our various fishes, because they are getting things from all those microorganisms, and it helps in general with their health. So it's just a matter of kind of doing something that nature does in a very small space. Now, granted, if you have, like Lady Diane, white sand, mulm looks really ugly, which is why I use aqua soil, because it hides all that nonsense. Also, I just like darker substrates got to keep rainbow fish. You do what you do. Oh, man. Okay, I made another one. I gotta get it. By the way, guys, we're just kind of no topic tonight for those that are coming in a little recently. So if you have questions, at Bentley Pasco makes them super easy for me to see. At Bentley is usually also enough. But if you have questions, we're just going to have free-form open conversation tonight. Make it easy peasy for everybody. We'll be having all the usual off-topic stuff you can probably expect tonight. Nabokov fan. I'd ask Stephen P. Stream, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. 75-gallon tank, you need to deplant, not a big deal, and remove the top layer of substrate. Top is fluorite, bottom is contrasoil. I feel like there's more to this. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, so is it more just like you need to break it down and you're wondering like how in order to remove the soil? Is that what you're dealing with? And leave the contra soil in place? I'm guessing that's what it is. In that case, like remove your fish and your wildlife, right? You remove all your plants. I would give it some semblance of a gravel vac if you plan on doing that, but I really personally wouldn't care. And then I would just find, if you can, I don't have one up here. I used to have one up here. You can buy these like super cheap, like at a dollar store, little like plastic square tubs, right? And what I would do is I would kind of dig them into the substrate a little bit and then just use either your hand or you could use one of the little the like aquascaping levelers, or in my case I would just get a cheap plastic putty knife, also from the dollar store, right? Get one of the ones that's big and broad and just scoop it into that box so you're slowly removing the top layer without going too crazy. Get it out of there. You're just hucking it into a bucket at that point. You'll slowly get the water level down. That's why you don't want full water. So you just want to limit the amount of stuff you're kicking up into the water, right? Is all your mulm and stuff like that. You just limit that stuff. And it's a slow process. It's meticulous. It's going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt, or you literally remove everything and start fresh. But you're clearly trying to keep your contra soil, and I get that. Top layer fluorite is growing BBA like a jerk. Contra soil isn't. I might just have to go with gold plan of comedy value. Yeah. You can also. So, get my crazy hair alien guy hair going on, right? You don't know? I don't know. Fish tanks. You can. That's where that title came from. If for some reason you didn't draw that, it's the weird guy from the alien shows on History Channel that used to be around. You can do it as a slow process. You could also like be the psycho like me who would just fight slowly, do the long-term fight of getting rid of Blackbeard. But I've dealt with it in a bunch of tanks, and I've had it come back and go away and come back and go away, and sometimes you just kind of like nod and smile. But if it's affecting like your whole tank, I totally understand removing stuff. They've got more hair than me. Yeah, I mean, like, thankfully, I mean, it's a little, as I've gotten older, it's a little thinner through here, but it's not bad. Thankfully, in my family, we keep our hair, it just goes gray, like, at age 2. I started going visibly gray at 12. Like, literally, it's like hit puberty, begin to gray. I was this level of gray at 19. Just, boop, no color in my hair anymore. Aquarium Fun, you mentioned on the video to deal with holes in Java Fern was a lack of potassium. Almost always in the case of Java Fern, when you start seeing those little pinholes, that means it's a lack of potassium. Aquarium Fun, Irish, no, I'm Scottish. And Danish, and Swedish, and German, and English, and French, and Spanish. That's where the last name comes from, Pasco, is Spanish, as in Spain. And then Blackfoot and Cherokee Indian, Native American, pick your choice. With the predominance being the Blackfoot tribe, because that's up here in the northwest areas. And then I know I'm missing something in there. I'm a mutt. I'm a whole mix of blah. But my dad's mom, she came here from Sweden. So that's why I'm like turbo white, is because I'm 1/4 Scandinavian, and it on the type that cannot tan at all type. Like, that's down on my dad's side of the family. None of us can tan. We just burn, which is why I'm like this permanent shade of pink. Hector, Lara. Hector's everything is 20% potassium, just saying. So I'm almost done with my test of Hector's new formula. I have to say, liking it significantly more, Hector, than the previous version. My biggest gripe, you've done a very good job of resolving that problem, and it's been pretty nice. If the only negative, of course, is that like rainbows are kind of dumb and they try to eat it. But other than that, it's doing great. Hector's everything. I'll have a video for it relatively soon, just because I've covered it. But it's a powdered all-in-one fertilizer. I've done previous videos on his like previous version, and it's the one that came with a little wooden spoon, which I love. I love that little wooden spoon. But if you were looking for an all-in-one that is not a liquid, maybe because you want it to ship easier or not worry about like it drying up and gumming up the pump head, it's a powder fertilizer. It's great stuff. Yeah, tons of improvements. I've liked it. It's been doing very, very well in the couple of tanks that I've been doing for testing. I'm just almost out, so I might have to like scream at you and order some. And has dechlor in it too, so it's both dechlorinator and fertilizer at the same time. That was the other major upgrade. All right, let me see here. I want to make sure. I thought I missed something else. Oh, Toaster Northwest. Thoughts on Gino's injury to our playoff chances? Well, Drew Lock looked really, really uncomfortable. I've been so busy with work, I haven't looked to see if they, like, how long they think Gino needs to be out, or whether he's just going to be at reduced throwing. I didn't look that up, so I probably need to look into that. But Drew Lock did not look comfortable, and that's a big problem, right? You could see where he just doesn't have some of the timing down that if you had more reps, you would, and a little bit of panic. But to be fair, Gino hasn't played as well this year as he did last year. He's made a lot more throwing mistakes and trying to play hero ball a little too much. So we'll see. I'm more concerned that Kenneth Walker went out early last week on injury, and like, it's fine that he didn't come back in, but more just like, are we certain he's going to get back to health for the next game? Because the twin attack of Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet has been really, really effective. And they're two very different running backs, right? Like, Charbonnet is this very hard-hitting north to south runner. He's definitely got a little bit of like cut capability, but he's not like Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is a freaking ninja, and he just has so much speed and such an ability to like change direction very, very fast. It's kind of similar to like Adrian Peterson in the way that Adrian Peterson used to run. Certainly not. I don't think he's quite as good as Adrian Peterson was. That guy was a machine, right? But he has more of that style running, where Charbonnet is a little closer to not exactly Marchand, because Marchand had a lot of like ability to side, where he's a very north to south runner. I would think of him more like, say, Jerome Bettis, if you're thinking that mentality, where he's a very powerful, straightforward runner, but also fast. He's much faster than Bettis was. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think we can still hit playoffs, but I think we're going to struggle when we get there. Oh, no. Hi, Rob. No, I have not tasted my tank water lately. I'm not you. I don't drink my tap water for my tank water for enjoyment. Although, now that I think about it, I did get splashed in the face by some of my rainbows the other day, and I definitely did go. So, yes, I guess I have tasted it in one of my tanks. It was my tank with my Melanitania picta. The big boy got a little too excited when I threw food in there recently. Splashed the top pretty hard. Hucked water halfway across the room, and mostly on me. What a guy. What a guy. But thanks, buddy. Good to see you. Let's see here. Yeah, but yeah, if you guys got questions, shoot them. Shoot them my way. I'm going to be pretty open tonight. Nabokov, and you doing the Secret Santa Fish Fam thing? No. I haven't committed anything to it. I've honestly been too busy with work stuff and some other stuff around the house to go in and look at like what I need to do. In theory, like the easiest thing is to host part of the Secret Santa in one of my streams or donate something to it. I need to go look and see like what their schedule's looking like and if they still need extra people. I'm sure they do, but I'm sure they will readily accept extra crazy people like me. But I have not committed to anything. We'll put it that way. Taste it on stream, not happening. No, no. I have these other things that taste really good. Hector Lara, have you ever had a question, or have you ever had a batch of lemon tetras die after a water change? So the only thing I could think of would be if um either the like chloramine instead of chlorine levels got elevated in your water just because you're in California, and it wasn't enough of the binding agents in the dechlorinator to handle it, or there was like the only other thing I think of is a massive temperature difference. But tetras are usually really good at temperature differences because of their inherent seasonal nature. So yeah, I'm not sure. That seems really weird. Tetras usually like water changes aren't the problem. It's other things that tetras deal with where they become fragile. Huh. That's very interesting. Mega Machamp. Let's go, champ! What is the largest amount of different species you've had in one community tank? So back when I first had, when the current retirement tank was a display tank, it had, this is going to hurt, but at one point it had Gold Ring Danios, Typhit Danios, Cherry Barbs, White Clouds, Auto Singlis, a Marble Angelfish, a Gold 3-spot Gourami. So now we're at 7. Bozeman Rainbows, Incisus Rainbows, so like the Red Rainbow or the Irian Red or the New Guinea Rainbow, Kamaka Rainbows, Turquoise Rainbows, Goiter River Rainbows, Melanitania Goldie Eye Decay, Can you smell the smoke yet? As my brain's trying to think of everything that was in that tank. There was one electric blue Akara, a a pair of glow tetras, skirt tetras that I'd adopted. So we're at 15 species. If you want to count snails, there's 2 species of snails there, Nearite and Ram's Horn and Bladder. Sorry, there's 3 snails in there. So that's at 18 species if you count the snails. Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot. But I wanted the rainbows to be a big mixed display. I had big groups of the small fish. So there was no less than 20 of each of those smaller groups. And then typically anywhere between 2 and 5 of the different rainbows. I mean, keep in mind, it's a 135-gallon tank, so it's got a lot of room. It's a big 6-foot tank. And yeah, at one point it just like there's some old video of it with just a crazy number of fish in it. Oh, there's a German blue ram in there too. There's got to be some other stuff I'm missing. There's like, oh, yes. There was also a longfin albino bristlenose that we called the Duchess. So just a ton of nonsense in that tank. Ton of nonsense in that tank. So close to 20 species. Probably forgetting something because it's just so much, and I'd have to like look at videos and figure it out. I've got old videos I can figure that out, but yeah. Nowadays, I prefer limiting the number of species I'm keeping in a tank, and I really like having bigger groups of a single species. It's just more enjoyable for me. But yeah, forgot the red-tailed catfish. No, if I had the red-tailed catfish, that would have been a reason why I lost all the fish instead of just their natural lifespans coming to an end. Ugh, red-tailed cats. Oh, no, there was a parva in there. One Melanitania parva. I remember that now. See, I'm just remembering random nonsense, and it was one tank and a million billion freaking species of fish in this big cluster display. Oh, Lord. But yeah. After having done like several tanks with lots of mixes of species, I've gotten way more into having like one or two as my primary species. And like, I don't necessarily count my support fish in there. There was not a betta, just because there was too many rainbows and the betta would have never got to eat. There were roseline sharks and some SAEs too. So there you go. We're at like 20 easily. Like 20 species, more than 20 species of fish in one tank. Well, it just keeps going. It's the tank that never ends. Bentley was building an ark, and he was doing it wrong. Pulsatera, when I do water changes, I use cold water most of the year. In winter, I grit my teeth and slightly turn on the hot tap. Yeah, so like, I tend to mostly be in cooler water changes in general, and like in the middle of summer, when I'm pure cold, my water comes out of the tap at like 74 to 76. Which, you know, for some of you are going to be like, that's not very hot, but for Seattle, it is as far as water out of the tap. In the winter, though, the water does get pretty cold, and if I leave it too cold and don't warm it up, it causes a lot of microbubbles internal to the tank, where I've kind of developed a way of filling my tanks with that cooler water that I'm heating up in my pipes naturally to off-gas a lot of those microbubbles to prevent any risk of the bends, just because I'm so terrified of like giving rainbows the bends with all those microbubbles. Usually not an issue, but still, I've played it really paranoid with those things. Try to match temperature, however, in Sail area, my cold water is TDS 28, my hot water is 32. Yeah, it's very similar. Mine's like in the depths of winter, it comes out about 26 TDS out of my tap, and somewhere between 30 and 34 in the height of summer. It's pretty spot on to those numbers. There's very little in the water if you're in the like Seattle metropolitan area as far as dissolved solids is concerned. We have like just nothing. It's like a little bit of iron, and that's about it. Brian Radovich nose fish tank. Yeah, kind of close, but not as bad. It wasn't the like, oh, I'll get one of this, and I'll get two of that, and I'll get one of this, except the rainbows. All the other fish in general were in big groups, unless they were fish I adopted. So there were several people that were breaking out fish tanks or moving, and I was that softy who would look on like Craigslist and stuff like that, and maybe people were like, I'm getting rid of my fish. Someone come please pick up my fish, and I'd contact him and be like, I got a big old tank, I can put them in, and I had a bunch of tanks for quarantine and stuff like that, so I had like the random rainbow or random electric blue Acara. That was something I picked up as an adoption, and an angelfish and the gourami. They were all just adopted fish, you know. And there's stuff that would come in that would be like, oh, I've already got that many. I've already got all these rainbows. I'll just add your rainbows. Oh, I forgot there were some Australian rainbows in there too. See? It just never ends. There's more and more and more. That tank was a nonsensical mess for a long time, but it was really fun to watch. Like as a person, I remember I would come home. It was when I was working for Oculus for a while. I would come home and sit in that there's this old kind of beat up recliner in that room. I would just sit there and I would just stare at that tank and watch it. I'd fall asleep in my chair. And my roommate at the time uh, would come around and be like, "Hey, buddy, you all right? Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I fell asleep. Yeah, cool. Dinner's done." Oh man, it was just kind of hilarious in that way. It was just like I'd sit there and get so relaxed and just after work chill and watch my fish for a little bit. I'd fall asleep in my chair. Just such a soothing zen kind of thing. And then my roommate would like wake me up and be like, "Hey man, dinner's ready." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'll feed the fish real fast and get up, go eat." And then I got other stuff I got to take care of in one of the other rooms of the house that had fish in it. Ah, the good old days. Leo 209, you need a cross river puffer, bro. Not right now, I don't. Eventually, maybe I'll think about it. In regards to your question earlier, you asked about an AquaClear 110, right, Leo? I like them. I look at it this way. If you are really good about keeping your water levels and you want the slightly easier to maintenance filter, in the sense of the tray design is just slightly smarter for maintenance concerns, that's where I like the Tidal more. Um, but if you want to be an effective pre-filter on the end of your filter, so like a sponge on your intake, then you basically ignore the Tidal and go for an AquaClear or something in a similar design. Because that skimmer is doing like 80 to 90% of the work on the Tidal, and it's hard to properly set that up without doing some like crazy DIY shenanigans. Speaking of, I have a DIY filter I have to get working here shortly. That'll probably be this weekend, actually. Now that I think about it. Got a lot of fish work to do this weekend. But I got some extra days to do it. By the way, if y'all aren't looking, like, check your local fish store, see if they're doing Small Business Saturday or Black Friday sales, because you might be able to get something you've been looking for on the cheap, or just stock up on some supplies, extra filter, that nice filter you were thinking about that you've been waiting on, whatever it might be. Might be able to get some deals. It's that time of the year, folks. It is that time of the year. All right. Make sure I'm not missing something from previous ones. There we go. There we go. All right. Mexicali Fish Keeper. I have the opposite problem in Arizona during the summer. Water out of the tap is 86 to 88 degrees. Woo! Hot boy. Hot. Yeah, thankfully it doesn't ever get that hot in Seattle, but we certainly do like get elevated temperatures to where there's no way to go down if you needed cool water. Tony Adams, do you know any trustworthy place online to buy hard to come by fish? It really depends on the type of fish you're trying to get. So defining hard to come by becomes really important. Dan's Fish is a phenomenal place to get a lot of fish, and he brings in a lot of stuff that is very uncommon to the general like local fish store stuff, right? But not necessarily like crazy rare. If you wanted specifically, say, dwarf cichlids, like apistogrammas, then I would say redfish, bluefish, my buddy Jason, because that's his specialty, and he really has got some incredible connections to get some very, very hard to find, especially apistogramma, into the United States that normally is just not available here in any semblance of scale being bred. If you were looking for live bearers, you probably are going to have to find smaller breeders that do that kind of stuff. Hard to find cories. If you haven't looked at like Get Gills, there are a number of people that actually have a good number of species on Get Gills. So like Tom from TM Aquatics, as an example, is a really good Corydoras breeder. He's kind of limited the number of species he's breeding right now, but he does have a few that are tougher to get a hold of. And he's a really good source because he really knows what he's doing. And he has a store on GetGills, and there's a few other like that. And GetGills is relatively safe, right? But there is some understanding, like maybe paranoia because you just don't. They're not a large business; it's individual breeders that are setting up stores and stuff like that. And I can understand where you'd have some level of worry about that. There is, of course, all Oddball Aquatics on Aquabid, which is one of the better Corydora breeders and some Pleco breeders in the world, and that it's Eric Bodrock. So, that's a dude. that's a guy who's got a lot of crazy stuff. It's just you sometimes have to pay that price, and that's the hard part. That's the hard part. But yeah, those would be some of my suggestions. I know I'm forgetting somebody. I'm trying to remember if Jeremy Bosch's website is still yeah, hold on. Just let me go. You're being dumb. Looks like Jeremy Bosch's website isn't still up. It used to be, but oh no, there it is. It's just redirecting with bad. So if you haven't been to it's Amazon Tropics, which Jeremy Bosch is like one of the best catfish breeders in the United States. I'll give him a little plug here, but this is his website and there's his availability list. He's a good source. It's just a matter of whether or not he has stuff available, and you do have to kind of do a little extra work than like a standard storefront in order to get them. That's where you have to do a little bit of work. And the other thing is, yes, the Wet Spot tropical fish. Don't look up just thewetspot.com, okay? It's the Wet Spot tropical fish. They do get a lot of really cool fish in, and their shipping is pretty reasonable. That's another great. Thank you, Paul, for that suggestion, because that's a good one. Robert Johnson, how many tanks do you have set up now, and did you end up getting both the Atenjo and Aves Creek Bozeman? I don't have both of them right now. So I have an Atenjo male left over. I'm going to probably get UTER. We'll do it that way, because maybe then it will look better in the talk to text instead of what it was trying to say for me in the past. And then Aves Creek, I have lines on. It's basically, I'm talking with some of my friends that are local breeders that have stuff. And just, it's a matter of me getting a tank set up before I pick those species up. They're very beautiful fish. And it's just a matter of getting them back going. I've also kind of looked into, there's a Marcel has a new smaller Bozeman that's, oh man, I can't even remember. I literally have to look it up. Hold on. This is how you know it's very, very new to the hobby in the grand scheme of things, in that I don't have it committed to memory. 1 second. From Cali Featree. They're very similar to the Aves Creek in coloration, but they legitimately cap out at about 3 inches. The problem is, it's like Marcel only has so many of them available, and I think they're only on Aquabid. I imagine if I messaged Marcel directly, he would just hook me up, because I know Marcel well enough that I can probably pull that off, but they're not cheap. They're not cheap at all. So yeah. Soon. Actually, the tank that the Aves Creek will go into should start seeing some work very soon. There's another one, Lady Diane, great member, that a Maasai breeder, Jerry Jost, and he's done talks and kind of is a name as well. Also breeds a lot of Corridoras. There's a number of really good Corridora breeders. Honestly, it's just a matter of finding the ones. Just I happen to know a couple through various means. Yeah, 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 yeah. But yeah, Amazon Tropics. Not a lot of people know about that. It's basically like you would have had to have watched some of the interviews with Jeremy Bosch to even know that that's his website. And it's kind of a coin flip as to whether or not stuff's going to be there. Kai Belcherman, when Americans say Australian rainbow, which species are you specifically talking about? It's not common name we use here. Yeah, so the problem, and I'll explain that. The generic like Australian rainbow is literally a problem of the distributors and some of the like big farm breeders out here. And honestly, at this point, they're probably all hybrids. They are most likely fluviatilis, as Brian Radovich is saying. But yeah, there's a number of there's so many species of rainbow fish from Australia. The fact that that's the one that we generically call the Australian rainbow is just terrible, and it's really comes down to a problem at like the distribution level, where they. For a long time, when they had these pond-raised fish, they just didn't keep track of the actual scientific names, and they just generically called them. It's like how the Glossolepis incisus is just called the Irian rainbow or the red rainbow, and like Melanitania Herbert axelrodi is the yellow rainbow. Melanitania lacustris is the turquoise rainbow, right? And like some of these have some easier definitive names, but then there's ones like where they literally call it the Australian rainbow, and you could be very much like, which one? There's fucking 100. there's easily dozens, probably hundreds, right? Because you could think about it like, okay, the Malanda rainbow fish. Well, there's a couple different catch locations for that, and stuff like that. Oh, Legion Aquatics, you got a good one. See, this is the. We're just on topic, not so much. The train is off the tracks, folks. It's a holiday week. The train's off the tracks. Legion Aquatics. Bentley, have you picked winners for the pins yet? So 3 of the winners have been notified in comments. I haven't seen any of them in chat tonight. The last 2 will get picked basically Friday, maybe Saturday, this weekend. So I'm if you've watched the Keystone Clash experience where I'm giving away the last 2 pins, if you haven't watched that and commented with the hashtag, go back to that video and comment. You still got time. I'm letting it run until the end of Thanksgiving here in the States, which is this Thursday, and then I'll pick it either Friday or Saturday. It depends on how busy my schedule is with traveling to see my mom and then coming back and all that kind of stuff. But that'll get picked, and then for the winners who have already been chosen and have contacted me, aka Vicky, I'm waiting until I have all the winners together to ship the pins out. Just so it's easier to just ship them all in one go, instead of like ship that one then ship this one. And I know you're waiting patiently, and I appreciate you, but don't worry, you're gonna get your lovely pin, and that's what matters, right? There's one person, maybe 2 people, so 1 or 2. Check my email real fast. I know that 1 has definitely got back to me. Looks like 2 have not got back to me so far of the winners, so we'll see. If they don't get back to me within a reasonable amount of time, I'm going to be pretty flexible on that. we might give away some pins on a live stream. But yeah. So if you are watching this in the replay crew, go check those videos, check your comment if you know you commented. So whether you're in the balance, which was the hashtag balance, or in the very first video where we did the interview with Lily, where we did hashtag Lily, go check your comment, because if you want a pin and you have not gotten back to me, I can't get your pin to you. So far I've been lucky. I haven't had, I don't think, an international winner yet, although one might be. I'm trying to remember if Ken's 3D, like Ken, I'm calling you out right now. Ken, you're one of the winners, so email me, dude. Is in the States or not. But yeah, last two this weekend will be that, and those are the Kalitawa and the Honey Blue Eye. Right? So two pretty good ones. Just gonna say. But yeah, we'll be giving those away, and then I'll get them all out in the mail. Alec is trying to say something about the Bozeman eye that the auto translations do not like when I'm speaking. Legion Aquatics, when you pick a winner, you might not want to pick me because I'm in Alberta, Canada. I don't care. I ship them anywhere. I just use a comment picker to make it random. I'll ship them anywhere in the world. I don't care. It's a pin. It can't be that expensive to ship, right? It's one of the few times where I know I can like ship something effectively globally because it's not like fish food or a fertilizer or plants. So yeah. I thought the Uters were supposed to say smaller. They're smaller than like the Ayamaru, but not quite as small as some of the creek Bozemanii. So like Chromsa and the new Califitri are the two smallest. Aves Creek is kind of in the middle, but they just take a very long time to actually grow to full size, which is what we're discovering with some of the people who have had them for a while. They take significantly longer. They'll hit like 3 inches, 3.5, and then just basically like stop. And then it takes another several years for them to grow into full size, and they can get upwards of about 5 inches apparently. They just take much slower than even normal Bozeman's slow speed of growth. So yeah, it's nice. Do I have my eye on anything for Black Friday? Not really. I mean, inherently, like, there are things I would want, but I don't have space right now that it matters. There's a few things I've picked up, like, that have nothing to do with fish. But yeah, nothing that has me too crazy. Unless someone in Australia wins, that shipping might be like $50. For a pin, I don't think so. Because it's just, it's something I can put in an envelope. It doesn't have to be in a big package, right? And like, envelope shipping's not that expensive. I would gander it couldn't cost me more than about $10 to ship to Australia. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'll find out. I'll find out eventually, right? And if it is that much, well, then so be it. I said it's open to anybody in the world, so it's open to anybody in the world. If I can ship to you, I can ship to you. I'm just going to fill out an extra form if it goes outside the U.S. Can't be too bad, right? Can't be too bad. Brian Radovich, the U.S. farm system is quirky. For instance, earlier this year, I watched Goliad Farms mention that the industry group he was in doesn't recognize Xenotoca, there we go, brain, lion's eye, as a valid species yet. What? Really? That's interesting. I mean, that seems really bad from a CARES perspective, right? Because there's the San Marcos fish, which is a genetically different fish. Huh. Yeah, I mean, there's some. That's weird. I don't know. The U.S. fish farming system is its own strange beast. It's something. Yeah, Kai, it's interesting that a like group of inherent hobbyists who are obsessed with collection points. Really, the problem is it comes down to distributors and farms, and though that's where they're not as obsessed as the rest of us. They're starting to catch on finally and getting better about it. So as they get new things, those are being like appropriately labeled and separated. But it's a lot of the stuff that's been in the hobby for a while. And the while is in a big quotation mark compared to a lot of other fish in the hobby. Rainbows just haven't been in the hobby that long. But those that have been in the farms for significantly longer, they all have these like very generic names. and it's yeah, it's not necessarily the best. It's not necessarily the best, especially for us who are like rainbow crazies and we really want to be specific about that stuff. Interesting. The Isanai complex wasn't split into species until like 5 to 6 years ago. And that's a problem because even we're starting to see that in rainbows is that we know a number of the species that are all classified as Goldii right now in different collection points are probably long term not going to be Goldii, but it's going to take until they become scientifically described to actually split them. So, of course, you've got like Goldie from like 30 different catch locations, and they're not all going to be Goldie in the end, but we'll still probably call them Goldie well after they've officially been properly named, because it'll take a while for like the brains to shift over. You know, there's a fish that I had for a while, the Etnaensis. They went under a completely different name for a while before they were scientifically named, and even then there were people who still called them something else. The old name, right, which was based on a catch location. And I remember a guy that's in my club asking me, like, hey, are you keeping this fish? And I was like, nope, I have no clue what that is. And he's like, no, I'm pretty sure you have it. It's blah, 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 comes from this place. And I'm like, I don't think that's the fish I have. 1 second. The only thing I could think of was like, it's got to be one of these couple species that has these weird, crazy names. So I looked it up and it was like, yeah, it was the Etnaensis. And I'm like, oh, you mean Etnaensis? And he's like, yeah, that's the new scientific name. It's not terribly old. And I'm like, okay, yeah, well, I guess I do have it. It happens to all of us. It happens to all of us. That was the biggest huff and puff I've heard out of you in a while, dog. Dog's just over here curled up in the chair. I just heard this big out of the dog. We definitely need more scientists doing descriptions of fish. That would make life a lot easier. Sadly, there's like 2 people doing it for rainbows. And I imagine if it's like that for rainbows, it's probably similar in other species, unless they've been really well split up, like some of your Rift Lake cichlids and things like that. So yeah, with that being said, guys, we're pretty much at the end here. So unless there's some crazy question that comes at the tail end, I can answer that. But otherwise, I've really appreciated you all in the spirit of the upcoming holiday. Maybe I'll take a moment to say I want to thank you all who've been here so diligently in chat or the replay crew for, I don't know, what, 3 years of streams at this point? I started doing streaming when COVID lockdowns happened in the United States and Seattle area especially. As kind of a way to do some extra stuff, and because it was harder to get out and film as many things with a lot of the lockdowns and some of those things. So I chose like a live stream and 1 video a week instead of trying to force in like 2 videos a week like I was doing for a little while. And I really appreciate a lot of you for being here every week. And I don't know, like, you never know what the future holds as far as like how long this will keep going, but for now I really look forward to Tuesdays, unless like medical appointments get in the way like last week. So just in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I want to thank you all very, very much. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. For those of you in the United States, I hope you get to have a wonderful holiday, spend time with your loved ones. To me, that's always been my favorite part of Thanksgiving, is getting to see my family and the people that I love very dearly and just spend some time with them and show my appreciation to them. And by some proxy, you wonderful people. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome. We're getting into sumps this week. I'm going to tell you whether they're good or not.